food waste recycling, and global warming. When we think about how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, we usually focus on how to reduce our use of fossil fuels. But reducing our use of fossil fuels is quite complicated because it typically involves making major changes in how we live. For example, it involves switching to cleaner energy sources such as solar and wind power, and also more energy-efficient methods of transportation and systems for heating and cooling buildings. Yet, it's quite difficult to get individuals or entire communities to change their energy-consuming habits, even when they produce unsustainable levels of carbon pollution. And so we may feel overwhelmed before we get very far in addressing the problem of global warming. Yet there happens to be some so-called low-hanging fruit to grab in our effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. One of these low-hanging fruit or relatively easy and doable reforms involves initiating programs to keep food waste out of landfills, where it emits significant quantities of methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas. According to the EPA, pound for pound, the comparative impact of methane on climate change is 25 times greater than carbon dioxide over a 100-year period. Although methane gas is released into the atmosphere from a number of different sources, the EPA reports that landfills are the third largest source of methane emissions in the United States. And much of what we put in landfills, which generates methane as it decomposes, is food waste. So one relatively obvious solution to reducing greenhouse gas emissions is to reduce the food waste we put into landfills. There are a number of environmentally sustainable ways to dispose of food waste. First, food waste can be composted and returned to our soils, which has many benefits. Compost adds nutrients back into soils, holds in soil moisture, and allows toxic chemicals from pesticides and herbicides to break down before they get into our groundwater and streams. Second, food waste can be processed in an anaerobic digester along with other waste products such as livestock manure in a way that captures methane gas for use as a relatively clean fuel source. This both reduces methane emissions and addresses our need for cleaner energy sources. Third, there are ways to capture the methane gas emitted from landfills, though this is far less efficient than other methods. This is less efficient because significantly less methane gas is collected when food waste decomposes in a landfill, and because it takes energy, usually from burning fossil fuels, to haul large amounts of food waste to landfill sites. However, until we can keep most of our food waste out of landfills, the collection of methane and other biogases at landfill sites is an important part of reducing the emission of greenhouse gases into the Earth's atmosphere. Food waste recycling is both good for our environment and good for business. This is because the products from food waste recycling, such as compost and methane gas, can be sold at a profit. Because of this, a number of businesses are setting up food waste recycling plants and developing machines and other equipment for making compost or capturing methane quickly and efficiently. To help these businesses collect food waste and also save taxpayers some money in waste collection and disposal fees, many cities around the world have begun food waste collection programs. These programs collect food waste from homes and businesses, as we do for other recyclable materials, such as paper, cans, and bottles, by providing separate and specially designed containers for this waste. For places that produce large amounts of food waste, such as restaurants and hotels, there is equipment they can purchase which will dehydrate food waste in less than 24 hours and turn it into high-quality compost. So what can ordinary citizens do to reduce their methane footprint through food waste recycling? First, if your community does not already have a food waste recycling program, contact your community leaders to see if you can get one going. You can search the internet to find a variety of food waste recycling projects that different cities around the world are using. Second, you can start food waste recycling in your home by collecting pre-consumer food waste, the vegetable scraps you throw in with your landfill waste, and compost them in your garden if you have one. Or if you own a restaurant or hotel, purchase the equipment for turning your food waste into compost and be socially responsible while saving your business money in the long term. Third, another important part of keeping food waste out of landfills is not wasting food. Some communities are setting up programs to collect healthy food that often gets thrown out by supermarkets and then make this food available to low-income families. This not only helps those who might otherwise go hungry, but it cuts down on the tremendous amounts of energy and water we use to produce enough food for our communities, as well as keeping more food waste out of our landfills. The upshot of all this is that there are solutions to global warming that primarily involve living smarter and not necessarily less comfortably. Food waste recycling not only keeps us from wasting energy, as we do with our current methods of trash disposal and food production, it also allows us to create renewable energy and other useful products from our waste. While it may be a little inconvenient at first to start food waste recycling, it's a lot less inconvenient than the consequences we can expect from global warming, such as increased storm strength and droughts, and more sea level rise and flooding. So there's no good reason to procrastinate in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Each of us can start today by recycling our own food waste and urging our civic leaders to get community-wide food waste recycling programs started.